Okay, now we're actually going to get into using the graphing calculator. So let me move this out of the way a little bit so I can get all the way down. When we're using the graphing calculator here, the deal is this, is that, I'm torn. I want to use a graphing calculator. Finding the mean, a standard deviation for a set of numbers is rather difficult. It takes a lot of time. It's very in depth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use a graphing calculator to do it so that we can discuss the concept. And the concept is the standard deviation measures the amount of spread that the numbers in the set are from the mean. The standard deviation gives us, so the bigger the standard deviation, the more spread out the information, the data is in our data set. The smaller the standard deviation, the closer or less spread or variation that we have in our data set. So let's go ahead and move quickly through this. If you use our graphing calculator to find our standard deviation, what we need to do is, I have right over here, we're going to go to Stat. Okay, so we're going to hit Stat button. When we get to the Stat button, we're going to go and enter our information into L1. So at that point, we'll press Enter to go into L1. Okay, so get yourself to that spot. I'm going to move myself over here to L1. Now my L1 has information in it. So in order to clear L1, I'm going to arrow up and press Clear. Now I'll press Enter, and that will clear my list. Once my list is cleared, I'm ready to start typing in my data set. So now I'm going to type in my 7, press Enter. 37, press Enter. 3, Enter. 8, Enter. 48, Enter. 11, Enter. 6, Enter. 0, Enter. 10, Enter. 3, Enter. So now just double check real quickly. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers in the list. So I go up on top of the 3. You'll notice it says the 10th number in list 1. Alright, so that's perfect. I have 10 numbers. Okay, so now in order to find those one variable statistics, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow these directions. I'm going to press the Stat key. I'm going to use my arrow and go over to Calc. Once I get to the calc, I'm going to go down to number 1 and press enter for one variable statistics. When I do that, it brings me up to my home screen. I need to tell it that I want to take the one variable statistics of L1. So you notice down here, L1 is in blue. So I'm going to say second L1 and press enter. And what I get is my one variable statistics. So at this point, let's start talking about this. Give me 1 second to get some stuff set up. Alright, so what we really care about here right now is that first thing we find out is the mean. In this case here, our mean is 13.3. Alright, then we come down, we have our sum of our x's squared, and we have our sample standard deviation. Okay, so this is what we really care about right here. This is our sample standard deviation, because we're looking at a sample of the entire population. Our mean is 13. And now, what's really going on here is you see how large the standard deviation is? It's saying that I have a very large spread. My information, my list is very, very spread. So in this case here, if we start thinking about answering our questions and saying, is the data consistent or does it vary? Well, that very large standard deviation tells me this information does vary. Just like when I look back at my list, and like I said before, I have a couple really big numbers, and then I have a bunch of really small numbers that are kind of all grouped around each other down in the tens. So that shows me that my mean is right there in the middle at 13.3, and all my other stuff's kind of spread all out around it. Now, with my graphing calculator, I don't have the ability to just go ahead and to actually what am I trying to say? Find the variance. So what I have to do is I have to take so I got my standard deviation, define my variance or my s squared, Okay, so if I want to find my s squared of x, I have to take my calculator and I have to square my standard deviation. So one way I can do that is I can just come down here and I can type 15.95862.706. I can hit squared and I can press enter, and that tells me that my variance is 254.677. Repeating. Now let me say this to you though. What I've done on the quizzes is I've rounded. So in this case here, my standard deviation on the quiz would have actually been 15.96. And then I would have taken that to find my variance, I would have taken that 15.96 and squared it to find my variance. And so at that point, I would get 254.72. And so that's going to be my standard deviation of my variance. And no, technically I'm not supposed to round like that, but for ease of answers and so forth, we're going to go ahead and round as long as we understand. And let's go ahead and see what our textbook says about all this. Okay, so our range is 48, great. 254.7. Standard deviation is 16, super, they rounded also. And so by any of the measures, it can be said the data does vary. So whether it was the range and we look at how spread the numbers are, or whether it was looking at the standard deviation and saying, wow, our standard deviation is 16. That's a pretty large number, therefore the spread is very large. And that's how we're going to use the graphing calculator to be able to find the standard deviation and variance of a set.